Hi, today I will show how I add a new feature to my project, a Chrome browser extension called Small Tester. It's an extension that lets users test websites. Test cases are created using natural language and played back on the fly by an AI engine. So users don't have to create Playwright scripts or Selenium scripts or write something manually in some syntax. Instead, they just write the test cases and describe them the way they usually do in a test plan for manual testing. The tests are played back by AI right in the browser. Today I will add a new small feature. I will now show you what we will do today. I will quickly run the extension. This is what it looks like. So currently we have test cases and test steps. And currently when we add a new test case, it is added at the bottom. There is no way to change its position. For example, I cannot drag or move this test case to the second position or to the top. They just stay in the same place where they were initially added. I don't think that it is good in the long term. When you have many test cases, you want to arrange them somehow, and we want to provide that feature for our users. I have already prepared for this previously by making an adaptive menu, because if we add lots of icons, they will just crowd the test case and test step menus, and we needed some adaptiveness. So currently our test step and test case menus are scaled because of this adaptiveness. So at low resolutions they just turn into a drop-down menu. And now we can go ahead and add new buttons. For my development I'm using Claude Code and Claude Design. And I also use a spec-driven development approach with the OpenSpec workflow. So I will now just show you the workflow. My new feature requires some design changes. If I ask the AI directly to add these icons, they can look weird, not very good. And I have no way to iterate on them until they are coded and running. And that's not very convenient. That's why I'm using Claude Design, a product that lets you design your solution before you implement it. And afterwards, there is a good way to hand the design over to Claude Code. So I will go to Claude Design. I go to claude.ai to the design section. And one more thing, I have created a design system. How can you create a design system? I just asked Claude to create one based on my code. Initially, I had no design system. A design system is a set of styles and examples of how your project looks. Project fonts, project colors. It's very important to have a design system for your project before you start. Okay, and now I have selected this design system. It is selected by default. And now I can just ask Claude to solve my task, to add those two buttons. So I have described my request. The design system is selected, so I just run it. Also, I forgot to ask AI to create several variants. I am not a designer. I don't have a designer's eye. I am just a coder, a programmer, and the best way for me is to just provide me with some different approaches, different variants, and I will just choose one. If I don't like any of the variants, I can just say, give me more variants, I don't like any of the existing ones. It has started creating something. I believe this is the first variant with this arrow. I don't think I like this arrow. It looks like a drop-down menu in my opinion. I would prefer something else. Let's see if it suggests anything else. All the variants are not that good because it suggests different approaches but always with the same icon. We can try to improve it. Let's take variant 1A and ask for several variants of different icons. From the UI UX point of view, I like variant A, but I don't like the icons chosen for it. It has now generated the second variant. It is still not the best, so I will need more iterations. Please let me skip the next few iterations and move straight to the final one. After 5 iterations, I think I have generated a decent design. Maybe it's not perfect, but I can just stop my experiments and take it. Now we need to share this design with Claude Code and create a task on top of it. So we go to the next step, share, more formats and apps, Claude Code, send, and I can copy the prompt. Claude Code can use its skill for connecting to Claude Design, use my login to get access and then pull their design directly. The one thing is that we have generated lots of variants, but this link, I believe, leads to the whole set. So we need to tell Claude Code exactly which variant we have chosen. And I believe it will successfully pick it and skip all the other variants. Now we can create the prompt for our task. I also include the prompt I have previously copied from Claude Design, and I add information about which variant we chose. Now I can copy the task text, including Claude Code Design prompt, and paste it into Claude Code. Before that, please let me create a branch. I have special settings for my proposed stage. They force Claude to ask for approval whenever a file is edited, because, as I will show you, on the OpenSpec proposed stage, the first stage, we will approve all the documents: the proposal, the design, the specification, and the task list. And at this stage, it's very important to approve the edits, not to let the AI go ahead on its own, but to wait for my approval, because I read all the specs and all the documents. But other technical steps, like creating a new folder for a new feature and copying some files, are not that important to me. So instead of the usual mode, where every step is manual, or the accept all edits mode, we allow all the main, not very dangerous actions. Most of the actions accept edits, so edits will be approved by me. Now I am using OpenSpec. OpenSpec consists of three main stages. The first stage is propose, where we create markdown documents describing what exactly we will implement and how exactly it will be implemented in the code. The second stage is the actual coding, and the third stage is updating the documentation based on the implemented feature. So let's start the first stage, OpenSpec propose. For this I'm using a skill OPSX :propose. These skills are installed by OpenSpec when you use it for the first time. These skills are different for Claude Code and for GitHub Copilot, so before initializing OpenSpec you need to choose which AI coding agent you are using. In my case, it's Claude Code. Oh, I believe I forgot to paste my task description. Now I've pasted my prompt, and now I will create all the documents. The first stage is analysis. It will gather all the information, it will load the design, and it will analyze the existing code. And also it will write the documents. Okay, it has created the first document called proposal.md. I'll read this document carefully. And I would like to mention that it will also create unit tests and E2E tests, but that's a different story. In our previous releases, we set up a unit test and E2E test process, and now with every new feature we add new tests. Okay, I am satisfied with this proposal and I let the AI go ahead. The next document is the specification. Let me read it as well. The different scenarios are described and I need to check whether they are correct and whether none of the scenarios is missing. Okay, it's fine, I can approve it as well. I believe this is the second specification. Let me check. It is also changing the adaptive row action specification because I believe the new buttons can affect the adaptiveness. And it should also be double checked. Okay, that's fine. I did not expect this specification, but sometimes OpenSpec decides to create several specifications for one change. And in exceptional cases, it even creates several changes from one task prompt. That's how the framework works and makes its decisions. Now it has created the design. The design is a more technical document. We can look through it, and sometimes I pick out some important things. It's raising some good points. Yeah, I thought about drag and drop and about moving a step between test cases, but for now I think we won't implement those features. Maybe I will think about it in the next task. It is quite technical. It says which exact technical details will be touched and what will be implemented. Now the task list has been generated. Actually, I have an idea. It suggests introducing unit tests to test the small pure logic for adding a test case. It also introduces E2E tests at the UI level. That's fine, but I think that in this case, a few sprints ago we introduced the so-called unit integration tests, which can mock storage and some standard Chrome object, but test the whole set of internal parts, internal classes together, and maybe we can also add some tests at this level. I hope it will remember and recall this, as long as we describe it somewhere in the README or in Claude.md, and it will understand what I'm talking about. I just add my suggestion to the tasks file, and sometimes the agent notices it and reacts to it and starts changing something. Yeah, it has responded to me, and it will add something about unit integration tests. And now that's fine. It will delete my phrase because it was just a suggestion. This is how I sometimes interact with Claude. Sometimes the agent doesn't notice my suggestions, and then after the planning stage, after the propose stage, I just write in the chat, let's also think about this, or let's also add that, and it does it. Okay, I think we have 5 documents with the plans. We have read them carefully, and I believe the planning stage is complete. After the planning stage, I can exit Claude Code to clear all the context. I don't need it anymore. The next stages will rely on our plans, and I will also commit the changes to create a checkpoint. Now I'm going back to Claude Code to apply the changes. I will switch to auto mode because the biggest manual effort was in the planning stage, where I had to read all the documents so as not to miss any important details. Now that we have already planned everything, if everything goes fine, Claude will just apply the changes and update the documentation accordingly. So I just switch auto mode on and hope that Claude will do everything right. The next stage, stage 2, which is the main code creation stage in OpenSpec, is OpenSpec apply. Let's start it. You can see how it is ticking off the tasks that have been completed. It will go through all these tasks and complete them one by one. Right now it has completed chapter 1 in the tasks file. It looks like something went wrong. Yes, let's go with the recommended option. I have not hit this issue before. The linked autofix broke some unrelated files. It was not the AI itself. I think that for now we can avoid touching this. Maybe we will need a separate housekeeping and technical debt task to clean up all the linked issues. Because every time I add a new feature, I see something in the log saying that there are linked errors, and I have to check whether they are related to our change or not, and they are not related. And so let's go ahead and so on. So I think that just to avoid this on every change, I will need to do some housekeeping at some point, but as a separate task. For now, let's just revert all the unrelated changes. The end-to-end tests have started. They include the previously existing tests, which are our regression tests, to check that nothing is broken by this change. And new tests have also been introduced in this task, so to check the new UI elements and how they work. Regression tests are very important for AI coding because they are an additional gate to check that nothing is broken and that no unrelated changes were introduced by the AI agent, which sometimes happens. And with AI, it's not that hard to implement those tests because AI does it extremely well. So I just created one OpenSpec technical dev task with a prompt like let's set up end-to-end tests with Playwright in our project and create several tests. It set them up, created several tests, updated the readme and Claude.md, and now in every task the agent knows how to add those tests and does it without being asked. Also, it is now trying to visually confirm the design by taking screenshots. This is one more thing that we introduced in one of our technical depth and process improvement tasks. We created a mechanism for the AI to run the browser itself and take screenshots. We set up an MCP server to control the browser, so the AI can press buttons and perform actions. We even have a test user in a gitignore file, so the AI can log in and do things. So now most of the tasks can be automated, and the AI can check most things itself, and I, as a human, only have to check the final result and intervene in exceptional cases. It says everything is done now. It has ticked off all the tasks, so it thinks that all are complete, and of course I can run my extension and test it manually myself. For that, I run it in development mode. I go to the Chrome extensions page, remove the current extension just in case, and load the new one. This is my usual way of testing my extension locally. Now I have those buttons. Let me reorder something. So, search Elon Musk goes to the first position, it was in the second position. We can close the extension, reopen it, and the order is preserved. And the same goes for the steps. So it is saved in the storage. And I can create a new case and move it somewhere into the middle. So everything looks good. Let's check the adaptiveness. At some point the buttons disappear. I don't know, maybe if there is a very long title there will be some issues. But I think that everything is fine actually. It is handled somehow and I think it's fine for now. I think the change has been successful, and now we can exit this session. The apply stage is complete. We can commit all these changes. And now we have the last stage. Since we are making our changes with OpenSpec, we still have an open change. Let me quickly show you what the OpenSpec artifacts look like. So in the OpenSpec folder we have the changes folder, the specs folder, and some archived changes. The last stage of every change is archiving. We always have to run this stage as well. During this stage, the current change will be archived and the relevant specs will be updated. So let's do it. Please let me start with a clean session. I can also switch to auto mode because these are just simple file operations, nothing special. I then run the specific command opsx:archive. Now we can wait a while the archive process runs. Now it asks whether we want to sync all the files or just archive without syncing. I usually choose sync. If we think that our change doesn't affect the specs, for example, a technical debt task which we don't need to reflect in the existing spec, we can choose the second option, but I usually choose sync. Now it goes through the full process and updates everything. Now the archive is complete. I can see that a new folder was created in the archive. This is how many features I have already implemented over the last few days and how many specs I have already created. A new spec was also introduced for the test case reordering, and one spec was updated regarding adaptive role actions. I don't know what was updated here. Maybe I need to go here to see. Some changes, the move up and move down buttons have been added to the spec. That's correct. This is why the OpenSpec archive stage is necessary. It updates not only the current spec, but all the documentation of the project if necessary. So, to summarize, we actually had 4 steps. First, we created a design solution in Claude Design using our design system. And then we passed the design to Claude Code, created an OpenSpec task based on the design and the described actions. We went through the OpenSpec propose stage, which is really the planning stage, where the AI proposed what it wanted to do in several markdown files. 5 markdown files actually: proposal.md, design.md, 2 specifications, and the task list. And I added some small notes regarding automated testing to introduce a kind of middle layer test. And finally, we implemented the change. Most of the steps were automatic. We did some manual checks and everything works fine. And we completed the change by archiving it. So we followed the OpenSpec workflow: propose, apply, and archive. This is all I wanted to show you. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!